Okay, here we go.
Okay, I do have confirmation that people can hear you, so you're good.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, so we'll push ahead. Okay, if you'd like to introduce yourself in the chat, sharing your name and your library, that would be great, just so we get an idea of who's joining us today. As usual, some meeting housekeeping details. Make sure your microphone is muted. You should have been automatically muted when you joined the meeting. Videos encouraged but optional. You can enter questions at any time in the chat window. If you prefer to ask your question verbally, you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask to chime in. You can turn on closed captionings from the Zoom toolbar. This meeting is being recorded, so watch the RSA cataloging forum for an announcement once the recording is ready. And then let's take a look on the support site where the agenda is. So I'm going to close out of the slideshow. Okay, so if I go to the RSA support site, support.librariesofrsa.org, we have events towards the upper right and then the membership chats. Okay, so if we scroll to the bottom, we have the agenda. I'll put that link in the chat for everyone. Okay, so we'll open that up. Okay, so our next agenda item is a cataloging maintenance center update with Dr. Pam Thomas. Take it away, Pam, when you are ready.
Morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, hang on. Let me pull up my document because, I can't remember anything. So, good morning. So the CMC has a new bi-monthly e-newsletter called the CMC Chronicles. And each issue features an article, quick tip, announcements, and an image of an item recently cataloged by the CMC, as well as upcoming cataloging training opportunities. And I will paste the link to sign up to that if you are interested. Issues are published on the fourth Wednesday of odd months, which means our second issue was distributed this week. Upcoming online with the CMC webinars, remember you need to register an L2 to attend and or have access to the recording link. So we have AI in the Library World Part 3, October 9th. You need to register an L2 and I will put the links to all of these in the chat as well. So Eric McKinney is going to cover AI again. This time he's going to focus on the ethics and legalities of its use in the library world. So that should be a good one. In November, on the 13th, we have Still Searching Databases and Search Tools for Subject Headings. Barb Scobie and Mary Cornell will take you through the basics of searching for subject headings and different databases that can be utilized and more. And then December 11th, we have So You Want to Start a Digitization Project. And then Kat Anneberg, our metadata cataloger, will be talking about, do you have a collection you want to digitize? Are you unsure of where and how to start? From determining project scope to tackling copyright to establishing a workflow. Join Kat as they walk through the process of planning a digitization project. And then our upcoming courses, and I saw that this was recently distributed to your listserv. The cataloging basics is from November 3rd through December 14th. And that's a 6-week crash course in basic cataloging, diving into using RDA, the resource description access standards, and using MARC, the machine readable cataloging standards. And Eric McKinney will cover MARC fields 0xx through 8xx and fixed field elements, and then the most commonly used fields when cataloging library items. And then January 26th through February 22nd, I will be teaching subject analysis, and I'm going to revamp that and have some new assignments, hopefully. So I'm going to be covering topics such as controlled indexing language, keyword versus controlled vocabulary, the purpose of subject headings, the 20% rule, content analysis, Library of Congress subject headings, word-based approach to retrieval, Sears list of subject headings, and Mesh, the medical subject headings. And that is a 6-week course, so it's a bit longer. And the cataloging basics is also 6 weeks. And then in March, from March 9th through 22nd, focus on deriving a record. Have you found records in OCLC? They're almost a match, but you need to create a new bibliographic record, or do you? If you find a close match, you can derive a new record, and Eric McKinney will teach you how to do that. And then in April, we have focus on cataloging CDs. Excuse me, cataloging CDs can be challenging. What mark fields are required and which ones are optional, and how do you fill out the fixed field elements? Again, Eric will be teaching that class, and he'll guide you through the process of creating bibliographic records for CDs. And then we've got cataloging basics again, April 27th through June 7th. Again, that's a 6-week class, and I already gave you the information about that previously. So what has the CMC been up to? So during this quarter, 784 items were originally cataloged and 751 records were enhanced. 3,059 items were merged, edited, or deleted for the Carly cleanup. Indian Prairie Community Unit School District number 204 and Prairie Cat cleanup projects. We have just started a deduplication project for CCS. Our metadata cataloger, Kat Anderberg, has been busy transcribing 2 oral histories and 29 manuscripts and cataloging 45 simple and 29 compound objects, and they are uploaded to the Illinois Digital Archives website, or IDA. And items were cataloged in English, Arabic, Catalan, Chinese, French, Fula, German, Hebrew, Italian, Japanese, Latin, Polish, Portuguese, Rajasthani, Russian, Spanish, Swedish, Tamil, Thai, Tibetan, Ukrainian, and Yiddish. So the catalogers have been busy. During this quarter, we offered cataloging basics, focus on collection development, and focus on cataloging DVDs. 2 online with the CMC webinars were offered. Let's Rock Down the Electronic Avenue on August 14th, and Just Dewey It, the basics of Dewey Decimal Classification on September 11th. And I've got the recording link, and I'll pop that into the chat after I'm done talking because I cannot multitask. And Eric McKinney is actually staffing a booth at Pug Day today. Mary Cornell will be presenting on special collections at the IL Conference in Champaign on October 7th. And the CMC will be at the ILA Conference in Rosemont, October 14th through 16th. So if you're there, please stop by the CMC booth, introduce yourself, and grab some of our free swag. It's new. Mary Cornell will also be co-presenting Peek Behind the Technical Services Curtain, Cataloging for Non-Catalogers. And I believe your own Lisa Shemensky is, if I butchered your last name, sorry, Lisa, is on that panel. That will be October 14th at 10:45. And then Jennifer Baugh, the Shared Bibliographic Services Manager, and I will be co-presenting Fields of Change, New Mark Fields Part 2. We did Part 1 last year. That's going to be 4 p.m. on October 14th. And if you'd like to find out more about ICAMP, the Illinois Cataloging Mentorship Program, then attend the ICAMP meetup, Building Connections and Growth on October 15th at 1:45. And you can see Nancy George, Jennifer Baugh, Melissa Zulik, myself, and we will discuss this program, which is now entering its 2nd year. And we are, well, a subcommittee is furiously working on matching mentors and mentees right now. And Nancy will probably talk a little bit more about ICAMP as well. So that's all that I have, and I'll put those links in there. Does anybody have any questions?
I don't.
Congratulations, Pam. You are the recipient of the Illinois Library Association TBS Technical Services Award. Congratulations.
Yep,
Much
so I will be at
deserved.
the awards luncheon at ILA as well. Yep. Thanks.
Congrats. Lisa, sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, I was just saying, well, first off, congrats. But there's no questions in the chat.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Pam, for joining us. Okay, we will move to Nancy now for a Rails Cataloging Services update. So when you are ready.
Hi, everyone. I hope you all can hear me fine.
Yes.
Okay, great. So my name is Nancy George. I am the Cataloging Services Manager at Rails. I would like to share an update on our cataloging services and initiatives. It won't take that long, I promise. So one of the biggest part of my role is developing and delivering cataloging training for Rails members. We continue to expand our offering to support cataloging staff at all experience levels. We currently offer a mix of recurring foundational courses and specialized supplementary sessions, some led by me and others by outside experts. I can provide you a quick look at what is happening now and what is coming up. I currently teaching a Moodle course on cataloging monographs using RDA. It is in progress right now and has been going really well so far. The upcoming trainings are, we are putting together supplementary cataloging training sessions focusing on either the new RDA or the topics around authorities and authority control for in late fall 2025. We are still sorting out the logistics and looking to confirm a speaker. In February 2026, we launch a asynchronous Moodle course that would be cataloging for non-catalogers. That will be a 6-week course. Currently, I am developing that training. In June 2026, another asynchronous Moodle course that would be Mark 21 Standard and Introduction. That's also a 6-week course. In September 2026, there will be an instructor-led course that is on cataloging video recordings. And in late winter 2026, we will have a course on authority control and authorities or the new RDA. If we are offering the authorities in this fall, we will have the new RDA in next fall. All training sessions will be listed on L2. We will also continuously working to revise and improve existing courses. If you have ideas for future cataloging training, I would love to hear from you. So please feel to reach out to me. Now I would like to talk about the cataloging mentorship program. Pam already mentioned that, but we are excited to continue the ICAM program this year with a slight change. We shortened the length of the program from 12 months to 9 months to better accommodate everyone's schedule. Applications are now closed. This week, we are reviewing the submissions and finalizing the mentor-mentee matches. Participants will be notified of their pairings very soon. So this program is all about building cataloging skills, fostering professional connections, and supporting one another across the Illinois Library cataloging community. If you are attending ILA 2025, join with us. We are hosting a special ICAM meetup at the conference. Come meet the current and past participants, network with the ICAM committee, including Dr. Pam, myself, Jennifer from IHLS, and other people, other committee members from ICAM. Also, you can learn more about the program during that meetup. So if you are planning to attend ILA, I would recommend you to come to the session. It is on Wednesday, October 15th at 1:45 p.m. in room 43. Now I would like to talk about our word language cataloging services. We are thrilled to report a successful year for our word language cataloging services. We cataloged over 1,200 diverse titles from libraries across the state. This service supports accessibility and resource management in multilingual collections, and we are grateful for the continued participation from RSA. A few quick update, libraries can submit up to 25 items per month. So please keep them sending. Another update is we updated the submission form to make batch submission easier. Certain fields are now auto-filled based on your previous entry that help you to save time and reduce repetitive input. And now you can request the 520 summary fields in the original language and in English. Or if you want both, just check the appropriate box on the form. So submit your items and learn more about our program on our website on World Language Cataloging Services program. I can provide you the link so you can learn. So if you have questions or feedbacks, please reach out to me. I am happy to help you with your cataloging needs. So please send your items if you need any, if you have any language items, including English. If you need any help, please reach out to us. Thank you for your continued support for Rails cataloging service. Whether you are looking for training, mentorship, or cataloging assistance, we are here for you. So feel free to contact me anytime with the questions, feedbacks, and ideas. And thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Nancy, for joining us. You've got a lot of new upcoming training planned. It sounds great. We will try to share that on our listserv as it comes up, so to help you spread the word. Does anyone have any questions for Nancy? Okay, well, thank you again, Pam and Nancy, for joining us to share your updates. Okay, so we will push forward. Kendall asked me to share a short independence update with you. So RSA is in the final phase of becoming an independent organization from Rails. So soon we will be posting 3 open positions. The first one is a business and marketing coordinator. The second one is a library systems and data analyst. And then the third position will be in our department, a bibliographic services specialist. So please watch the RSA email forums for an announcement about these open positions if you might be interested in applying. Kendall also wanted me to mention too that because he and Anthony are very busy with this final push towards independence on January 1st, they may not be able to follow up right away if you reach out to ask for their help, but they are keeping a queue of things that need their assistance. So that's all I have for the independence update. Does anyone have any questions about that? Okay. All right, I will hand it over to Lisa.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to be talking about a couple things. I'll give you an update about brief record upgrades to OCLC records, as well as an update on the cataloging site visits. So I'm going to see if I could share my screen. Okay. I felt bad not having slides, so I did go into Canva and made stuff this morning. So, so we upgraded 665 brief records that the RSA cataloging team since the last cataloging chat in May. So thank you everyone for sending your brief items to us so they can be upgraded to OCLC records. This makes them more discoverable in both workflows and the RSA CAT. So this searchability and that the records are just more robust being full level records, it does greatly improve the patron experience. So thank you for making this possible. Do remember, like, if you have an item that you don't want upgraded to a full level record, which happens, some libraries like don't necessarily need like equipment or puzzles like put on full level records. Just like reply to those tickets that we send, that we create and send you, just to let us know that we can cancel our hold, and like, if there's a certain format you just don't want upgraded, we can, update our internal information. So like we don't reach out again for, like puzzles or kits or things like that. You could also, like, if you don't want to bother with all that, just remember to write leave as brief instead of the email address in the 592 field when you create brief records. Also, please be aware, like, I'm sure you've noticed, like, we're having a new focus, and our cataloging team focus is going to continue to shift toward conducting routine site visits at libraries. So we will be upgrading fewer brief records. That said, part of these site visits do focus on database cleanup, so they are helping make the shared database a better place for users. So everyone is benefiting from these site visits. Also, like, me personally, this is like me, my prediction, but as time passes, like I hope, fingers crossed, that eventually we should be able to add in more brief record upgrades in the future. As visits become more routine, like you're just going to have cleaner collections. Jen and I are going to find our own rhythms so things run smoother. And eventually, hopefully, like maybe down the line, we'll have that third person back into the visits mix. So, until we get to kind of that point, like we do appreciate your patience and understanding as our focus shifts. And then since we were talking about cataloging site visits, this past July, the cataloging team began these routine site visits which are all conducted in person at RSA libraries. We're working with the operations department, and the goal is that between all of us, like the goal is to visit each library and its branches once every 18 months. So since the last cataloging chat in May, the cataloging department, 16 libraries total were visited since the May cataloging chat. I'm not going to read you off the list, but I did put them on like a PDF here for you. And if you are interested in a cataloging site visit sooner than your library's routine visit, you can always go to the RSA support site, and you could go to this Get in Touch. And you could fill out this visit request to let us know like you'd like us to come out. And you could kind of tell us a specific reason. Yeah, and like we can schedule a site visit from there. Okay, and that is everything I have right now.
Thank you, Lisa. Does anyone have any questions for Lisa at this point? Okay, we will jump to Jen to talk about a couple things involving brief records.
Okay, hold on one second. And get situated. I'm also going to go. Are you seeing the screen here?
Yes.
Okay. I'm also going to go off camera. And sorry, I've been sick for a couple days, so sorry if I sound a little croaky. Okay. There have been recent revisions to the cataloging a brief record guide that I'm going to show you. I'm going to pull up the site. Trying to think. There are different ways to get to the brief record guide. I think, let me just do, I'm going to go to topics. Actually, I'll go to handbooks and cataloging handbook. Brief records. And creating a brief record, a guide. Okay. So the additions that have been made, you can see here, basically we had some good questions recently about how to create a brief record when they have more than one author. So Erica made some revisions to the guide. So I will start, look at my notes here. Page 14 of the guide. Okay. Now this is a book with an illustrator. Okay, that must have been another edition. Okay, if there's an illustrator for the book that you feel would be helpful for patrons to know, enter the illustrator's name in the 500 field. No need to use all caps. Erica, this wouldn't be a situation really where people would want to add a 700, would they?
It could potentially. It just depends on if you want the illustrator's name searchable.
Yeah.
You really wouldn't probably search by an illustrator in the author index.
I'm just asking because the next example, that's what we're, describing to do. Yeah, okay.
That one's a little different since it's an additional author
Okay.
versus an illustrator.
Okay. So this is a case if there are multiple authors for the book, enter the 100 field, the author that appears first on the Bible or the book's title page using this format. You can enter the name of the other authors in the 500 field. No need to use all caps. We did this for someone, and then we realized that unless you're doing, the author search, the author index search, even having that in a 500 field, it won't pull up. It would not pull up that secondary author. So in addition to that, you can reach out to RSA and ask us to add a 700 field to the brief record for this additional author. It's just not something in the template that you can do, but I mean, we can do it for you. You just need to reach out to us.
Mhm.
Okay, what's the difference with this one? Yeah, book without an author. If there's no author for a book, you can leave the 100 field blank when creating the brief record. Workflows will automatically remove that field when the brief record is saved. So you won't just have a random blank 100 field out there. Okay, so those are recent revisions. Let's see here. Sorry, there's I have a lot of talking points, it looks like, so. Okay. Also on page 16, I already did that. Okay, let's move on to page 6. Okay, on brief records created from this point forward, this is the area I'm looking at right here. Please assign the OCLC exclude item cat 6 in addition to typing leave as brief. And Lisa mentioned this just a little bit ago. In the 592 field, if you do not want the brief record upgraded to an OCLC record. So all libraries item cat 6 menus already include OCLC exclude. Pull up an example here. Okay. This is the right example. This is not the right example. Yep, sorry, I pulled up my wrong example. I have all these different examples and then I choose the wrong example. Sorry.
Well, this way they get to see the 700 field. What
Yeah,
that
I guess I
looks
could
like.
show it this way. Okay, back up. When we're talking about adding an additional author, this is actually the example that this came from. It was a recent book, Reese Witherspoon, Harlan Coben, and they wanted, Reese Witherspoon is actually listed on the title page first. So that's why, you know, Reese is in the 100 field. We tried just adding the 500 field for Harlan Coben and realized this library is like, well, that's great, but you know, we still can't pull him up doing the author search. So that's where it's like, oh, well, we probably need to do an additional step and offer to add the 700 field. And that's what the record would look like. Let me get to my correct example here. Okay. Here's an example. Eureka created this brief record. They know, it looks like some type of kit, that they do not want this upgraded to an OCLC record, you know, a full OCLC level record. So right here, they added the OCLC exclude, along with the leave as brief. In this case, if you have this instance, it is not necessary to add the email address here. Leave as brief. The email address is more for us to pull from when we go to upgrade the brief records. Who are we contacting? What, you know, email are we sending the information to? In this case, it's fine, but really, even to save more time, leave the email out and just put leave as brief, and then make sure you use the item cat 6. Anything else you wanted to add about that, Erica? Because I know this is kind of new.
Yeah, so the reason we're doing this, you may be thinking, well, why do we need to do an extra step now? Having OCLC exclude, since that's a controlled code, it's going to help us when we run on our end for Lisa, Jennifer, and our new BIB services specialist. When we run a report of all the brief records that have email addresses on them, so that they can start to work through them oldest to newest, upgrading them to OCLC records. We've noticed that there's lots of variation in the 592 field with how leave as brief is entered. We try, when I run those reports, I try to strip out those records from the report that the team works on, because remember, those don't need upgraded. So to make this easier for us to more effectively exclude brief records that don't need upgrade, having them assign that controlled OCLC exclude code will make it much easier. So that it's just kind of an additional step, so that on our end, when we run this report, we don't need to look for about a dozen different ways that leave as brief has been entered. Okay, what else was I going to mention about this? Oh, yeah, I was going to mention too that I've taken care of editing existing brief records that have leave as brief or one of the many variants in the 592 field. As best as I can, I've batch edited those to use the OCLC exclude item cat 6. So we're just asking your help from this point forward to take that additional step beyond leave as brief and do the OCLC exclude going forward. So you don't need to go back and assign it to any of your existing brief records where you put leave as brief on them. And I will do a check monthly just to make sure that brief records with leave as brief are assigned the OCLC exclude cat 6. Yes, Lisa.
Yeah, sorry, there's a question in the chat. So Tracy at Pekin, she was wondering, do we still need to list, quote, other author, end quote, in the 500 field for AY on order brief records?
Do you mean, Tracy, that the book has an additional author? You're welcome to still put the extra author in the 500 field, but if you'd like it searchable in the RSA cat, reach out to us and we can add that 700 field. It just depends on if you think putting that additional author would be helpful for staff and patrons looking at that record. Did that answer your question? Lisa or Jen, do you have anything to add?
Not about this, no. Can you still see my screen, Erica?
I can, yes.
Okay, I'm having Zoom issues here. Okay. Thank you, by the way, for the additional information.
Yeah.
Okay, last thing about the brief record guide, and then I'll be done with this part. Let me just pull up. Lost my brief record guide. Okay, last thing that came up. Magazines. For magazine brief records, use the ISSN and not the UPC on a brief record. We had another good question. It was about this. They asked if it was necessary to add the UPC. And no, not in this case. Definitely use the ISSN. UPCs are not used because those vary based on the individual magazine issue. Use the ISSN if available. The ISSN is entered in the 022 field and uses the lowercase s, followed by the ISSN in the title control number. And the ISSN is always entered with a hyphen, as you can see here from the example. And I think, oh, one other example here. Feel like I'm in a workshop again. Okay, so here we go. Here is a magazine, a brief record for magazine created. ISSN here, and in the control tab or under control tab, it's entered with the lowercase s and the ISSN. Any questions, just let us know.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, we will jump back to Lisa.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about how to create brief records if you'd like to track in-house use. So a recent thing I've helped a library with is setting up generic or like quote dummy brief records to track usage. I mean, ultimately, like the operations department kind of like took over. I just kind of helped with like setting up some item types. So it's kind of like a dual department sort of situation. But basically, they're creating dummy brief records to track usage of different format types that like they didn't necessarily want individual records for. So you can use these dummy brief records to track like computer use by your patrons in your library. Like I mentioned, different formats. So like if you have puzzles and it's mostly like a browsing collection and you're like, I really don't care about having individual records for each one, you could create a dummy brief record, to track use of your puzzles in-house. So essentially you would create like one brief record to use for all formats, keeping like the dummy barcode like at the circ desk so you can easily access it. But the trade-off to that is again, like you don't get those detailed records that describe individual items. So this like may not work for all libraries, but I thought it was a really neat idea. So we just wanted to share it with everyone. So to give you like an example of what this looks like in workflows, I have an example for you. So in this case, like LaHarp, they have a brief record that's so they can track in-house use of public computer usage at their library. So it's a pretty basic generic brief record. And if you go to the call number item tab, if you look here, like the interesting thing to note is total charges is 0. Again, that's because the preferred way, you're not like assigning like a checkout to an actual patron. The preferred way to track the usage is to enter an item, like when the library is going to track it, like using the dummy brief record is to use the mark item used wizard. You can find that if you go to the circulation module, if you go to special group, there's the mark item used wizard. And when you pull it up, if you look, like you don't have like a place to put your patron ID, you just have that item ID number. Hence why I was like, you should keep all your like dummy barcodes like up at the circ desk for your use. So again, like since it's not tracking, like checking out an item to an individual patron, that should be like part of your consideration when you're thinking of using dummy records to track use. So this method also involves like the library using a unique item type. We recommend a unique item type that they're not currently using. So that like unique item type is configured with like the library's default circ rule and a no hold rule. The default circ rule's sufficient just because the item's not actually going to be checking out when it's scanned into the mark item used wizard. And like the reason why we suggest having like a unique item type is that like we can set up a monthly report of the mark item use statistics, and it could be helpful to track the usage of the item. So we can get you subscribed to that, via your preferred email address to a Blue Cloud Analytics report that outposts those stats. So it's kind of a unique way to track things. Might not work for everything, might not work for your library, but there might be one of you out there that finds this like a cool idea. So again, like reach out if you have any questions about this and we could get that like set that up for you. Okay. Are there any questions at all about that? I'm not seeing anything. I relinquish control.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, let me share again. Okay. All right. You might have noticed in one of the examples that Jen showed on her screen, some brief records now have a locally defined 591 field on them. So let me pull up one of these. And my workflows thinks about it. Here we go. Maybe. So what we did with these, we decided we needed a way to identify brief records that were created before we started what I call the upgrade process, where the cataloging team, as you know, places holds on your brief items, upgrades them to OCLC records with full bibliographic description to help discoverability. So before we started that process, that started July 1st, 2022, We've put this 591 field on those records created before that date, so we can easily run reports of them and have a way to identify them. The reason we're doing this is Anthony and I are thinking over a possible brief record cleanup project of these older brief records. I don't have specifics to share. We're still trying to think through how this may work. But we have brief records created before that July 1st, 2022 date. We have about 34,000 brief records. Total, we have over 50,000. So we're trying to think of ways where we can try to consolidate brief records that describe the same thing, maybe get some additional assistance, upgrading some of these records. But like I said, we're still thinking through the details at this point. But I wanted to be sure to mention the 591 field because as you're searching workflows, you may notice this field on a record. It shouldn't display in the online catalog, so your patrons won't see it. It's more an internal use field, like I said, just to help us run reports of these records. Does anyone have any questions about that 591 field? Oh, one other detail. If one of these brief records with a 591 field gets replaced by a matching OCLC record, the 591 field will disappear at that point. It won't stay on the record. So I wanted to be sure to mention that as well. Okay, the next topic I was going to talk about, we have a new record format for annual magazine records. So let me show you what that looks like. Okay, so remember we create these annual magazine records in late fall for the upcoming year. And these annual magazine records are for magazines like People, Time, Good Housekeeping, etc., that have lots of items attached. We started doing this so that we don't get records with huge numbers of items that gum up the system. So now remember, we create these per year for some of these high volume titles. The change we've made, if you go to the control tab, the record format now says annual magazines. It used to say brief, something like brief record for magazines. But since we're thinking of that potential brief record cleanup project, we wanted to make sure these records were assigned a different format so that they wouldn't be included in any brief record cleanup that we may do. The good thing is you don't need to worry about assigning the annual mag catalog format from your end because remember, we take care of creating those annual magazine records for you. Mostly, I just wanted to point it out because we have had questions in the past with these annual magazines. They used to show up on your brief record reports if you were looking at lists of the brief items that your library had cataloged in workflows. So now these records won't show up anymore on those reports. So that should help you focus in on the brief records that you want to see and not the ones like these that would always stay put on the annual magazine record. Okay, let me see here. I did revise on the RSA support site. We had mentioned of the record format for annual magazines. We had mention of that in the cataloging magazines and workflows guide. So I just made a quick edit to this to reflect that they're assigned the annual magazines format on page 8. Yeah, so if I jump down, yeah, so now it just mentions that format and then it shows an example like we just looked at. So stay tuned. Those annual records for 2026 will be created in the next few weeks. So watch the cataloging forum for an announcement. Does anyone have any questions about the record format? Okay, let's push on. So we will jump back to Jen to talk about prohibited items.
Sorry, do you see the support site, Erica?
I do.
Okay, I'm not seeing the normal green box. You know how it shows what your screen, it looks weird. That's why I keep asking, can you see my screen? Because I'm not seeing what I normally see. So it's just a little weird. Okay. Yes, the prohibited items policy, which really I feel Erica should really be the one talking about this. She's put in a lot of work for this. So on our support site, many different ways to get to this. I'm going to go to the cataloging handbook over here on the side, cataloging policies. And then if you click on here, I think this will take you, yes. So here are the 3 items that I'm going to be talking about. I'm not going to go into full detail, just a little overview. So the first one would be the prohibited items policy. Okay. Just a couple things I want to say about this. The policy was approved by the RSA Board of Directors on September 4th, 2025, and then shared on several RSA email forums. The policy replaces the RSA policy for advanced reader copies, or ARCs, and the RSA policy for pirated items. The prohibited items policy has been expanded to include additional types of items that must not be cataloged, circulated, or interlibrary loaned in workflows. Pirated items, advanced readers copies, promotional or display only items, items with restrictions on their sale, and items that indicate on them that they are not available for loan. This policy will be revised again and presented to the board for approval again if additional types of prohibited items are found to be cataloged in workflows. Just when you have a chance, take a look. Let us know if you have any questions. It does give it examples here of something that you may see for ARCs or advanced readers copies. Okay, the prohibited items procedure. Okay, it explains what to do if you come across a prohibited item in workflows that is either owned by your library or another RSA library. Basically, just reach out to the RSA help desk, which I think you all do if this happens, as soon as possible when you encounter a prohibited item owned by another library. No need for you to contact the library. The process has changed just a little bit where just let us know, contact the help desk, and then RSA will be the ones to reach out, to this other library. And it gives different situations you may encounter. And again, just once you have a chance, take a look through it and let us know if you have any questions. The last one I want to show is the guide for identifying pirated items. Really where this all has come from, we just noticed an increase, and it's not just RSA. I think it's everywhere. I mean, just everywhere. Pirated items, bootleg copies, specifically with DVDs and Blu-rays. It's just gotten, I want to call it bad. It was just, we've noticed an increase, and I don't think we're alone. So put together a guide on things to look for. The main thing that we notice, like I said, are usually the DVDs and Blu-rays. We have come across, I know Lisa's come across a couple of them, books, so we have actually come across books that are definitely, okay, this is not legitimate, just no, but it's really hard to tell. You may go onto Amazon and, hey, something looks great, but, until you actually see it, it's really hard to tell. So we have come across books, but mostly what we're finding are the DVDs and Blu-rays. And mostly it's things that are only available through streaming services, and never released on disc. A good title would be Greyhound. It's a title that keeps reappearing in workflows. And it's because it looks, you can go on to Amazon, your third-party vendors, and you can purchase it. And really, until you get it in your hands and maybe view the item, you look, oh, this doesn't look quite right. Anyway, this guide shares tips to help you avoid buying pirated items for your collection. Characteristics to look for when you have the item in hand that may signal the item is pirated, and screenshots examples of pirated items. Keep in mind, just because your item may meet one of these characteristics, I think an example would be with the disc color. I think we have on here, if the disc looks a certain color, well, there are actually legitimate discs that may look, I think it's the bluish or purplish tint, so keep in mind, just because, one thing may be off, it still could be okay. The best thing probably to do, what we're recommending, is to check a couple different websites. I'll put those here in the chat here in a second. Let me see if there's anything else I want to. Basically, just reach out to us for assistance if you're unsure. We're happy to examine the item. You can send it to us. We can take a look. Just something coming up this fall. There will be a video regarding the pirated items soon-ish. It's something that I've been working on for soon-ish. It'll be out there. Just keep an eye out on the cataloging forum later this fall for news about the video. And I wanted to see if there's anything else. I don't think so. Erica, is there anything else you want to add while I put these websites in the chat? Because I know you've been working on these. I mean,
Yeah, let's see. One thing I think I'll mention too, I hadn't planned on mentioning it, but I just thought of it and I saw it in the guide for identifying pirated items. Just because an item has an OCLC record does not mean it is legitimate. So like Jen was saying, if you're buying a movie or a TV show title, if you can take the extra step of looking it up in Blu-ray.com or the DVD release date's website to see if it's been released officially on disc, that's really your best bet. I know sometimes it's misleading if you find an OCLC record for one of these titles because you think, oh, it's an OCLC, it must be okay because somebody's created a record for it out there, so it must be a legitimate copy. So the piece about the OCLC record, I wanted to be sure to mention. Is there anything, Lisa, that you would add about the pirated items?
No. I mean, I would say like if you know something's streaming on a platform before you buy it, it might be a good idea to run the UPC or the title through the websites that Jennifer shared. Or even, I don't know, even popular movies. It's getting weird. I do not like
yeah,
that places are siloing content. It's like very frustrating to me because I'm like, if I miss it in theaters, I might not get a chance to ever see it unless I want to subscribe to something for like a month and then like not subscribe. It's frustrating. So like we're frustrated for you.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's terrible. Like you just want to share things with patrons and it's awful that they're not like letting people buy actual things. Um, but that would be my thing. Like if it's a really popular show, you can always just run it through one of those websites and just kind of check like, did it get an actual DVD release, or physical release? I don't know if you want to do that for everything, but if you have a hunch
yeah.
or suspect this is just a show I watch and I've only seen it streaming, you might want to just check that.
Yeah, definitely. Um, Hopefully you can still see my screen. I mean, this is an
Mhm.
example on the DVD release site. Greyhound, the movie, I mentioned earlier. And this is really what we go from, because this came up again. This is a recent update, obviously, August 12th. But yeah, this movie, as far as we can tell, has not been released on DVD or Blu-ray. And you really wouldn't know it, if you're on Amazon or something, you're like, oh my gosh, there it is, but it's just unfortunate, really. Hopefully, if you do purchase something from a third-party vendor like that, I mean, I know, Walmart, I've heard people have said, oh yeah, I've purchased something from Walmart, turned out to be pirated. They were lucky, they were able to get their money back, but that may not always be the case. So I would, but for the DVDs, anything like that, if it's very questionable, check the website and see. It may give you a clue. And let us know if you have any questions.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jennifer.
Oh, you're welcome.
Jennifer,
Oh,
yeah, Jennifer Williams at Normal. She's like, it's super hard to tell.
yeah.
She said she saw this one in person and she couldn't tell any difference. And the websites are helpful.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
agree.
Yeah,
Like,
it is. No, it really is hard to tell.
like
And,
it's hard.
Greyhound had an OCLC record too.
And yeah,
Yeah.
you're exactly right, Erica. It did. It had an OCLC record. So, yep.
Yeah,
I,
it's tricky.
this idea just came to me. I don't know if it'd be helpful if like we kept like a document on the support site that was just a running list of things that like people have sent to us that we know like have been pirated.
Mhm.
Just like one
Yeah,
place and we could just keep adding to it so people could check like if they're adding stuff to their collection and be like, oh no, Killers of the Flower Moon is
that's another
not
one.
released.
Yeah.
That's
Um,
another one. Yeah.
I don't know if that would be helpful because I don't know, but it just came to my mind, so I thought I would just mention it.
That's a good suggestion.
Yeah, maybe we'll look into that.
Yeah.
Anyone at the meeting, if that would be helpful for you. It wouldn't be anything fancy. It could just be a list in
Yeah, no.
alphabetical order. I think, Jen, you had mentioned like kind of keeping your own list. Didn't you mention that at one point, like of titles that
An
reappeared?
internal, sure, but of course it
Yeah.
could be shared. Yeah, just because the reappearing, titles, something like Greyhound. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could definitely do something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
good idea. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm next. Sorry.
Oh, actually, we're right at an hour and we've
Oh,
got a few more agenda topics to go over. So I think we'll take a 5-minute break. So let me see if I can figure out how to pause the recording. And then we will reconvene at like 11:03. So I will see you back in 5 minutes. Recording. Okay, there we go. Okay, so up next, let's see, where were we? Okay, so Lisa will talk about revisions to the item group editor procedure. So when you are ready, Lisa.
awesome. Okay, so I thought first I should show people what the item group editor looks like. Some of you might be familiar with it. Some of you, I know Normal, like I'm coming out to see you in November to do a training. I'm very excited for that day. I'm excited. It's gonna be fun. So yeah, so this is what the item group editor looks like. I mean, if you're looking at it, it looks very similar. I'll open this up, but to the global item modification wizard. Though that everybody should be familiar with, but with this one, you could like edit these particular fields and you grab your stack of items and you like, scan the barcode to like make the adjustments. With the item group editor wizard, you have a few more fields you can make edits to, and you do not need to have the physical items in front of you. So it is like, I call it the global item modification wizard, but on steroids. So it's a really powerful wizard. You technically can mess up your collection with it. That's why we do a training for it before we just like let you have at it, because we don't want people to be like, oh no, what have I done? So yeah, this is what the item group editor looks like. And as far as the procedure goes, you can find it on the support website. If you go to handbooks and cataloging handbook, it's just right up at the top, which is convenient. So it's under batch editing items. But we have the instructions for the workflows item group editor wizard. You can click here to download it. I already have it pulled up. But the specific sections that we've updated with this are, let's see, on page 54. So we had some people ask, like, we mentioned, oh, you can add text files of item IDs, specific items that you want entered into the item group editor to make batch edits with. So we added that procedure into the document, and it is something that we covered during item group editor training. We also, like on page 60, if you were to follow this down, like we have steps that they'll tell you about how to do it. On page 60, it kind of continues to tell you about uploading that particular file of item IDs into the item group editor. And then the other thing that we added information about is how to merge different groups. So in the item group editor, it's kind of neat. You could like do searches in it or upload a text file of item IDs in there, and you could create what's called a group, and it'll let you do like a batch edit to like a saved group or listing of particular items that you want to do. So like a really good example is like I'm making a display for Halloween. So I have a bunch of horror books. I've done a search, I found the items I want, and I could create a group of these particular items that I'm creating for this display and use the item group editor to change their home location from fiction to display. And then I could use the item group editor to just slingshot it back once I'm done with my display for the, month of Halloween or the Halloween month in the spooky season. But you can also like merge groups together, which might be fun if you have two like things and you're like, oh no, I'm going to create something different for these. So we have like instructions for how to like merge two groups in the item group editor. And we also discovered too, and we have the instructions for how to merge groups, but on page 113, I had a library when I was doing training ask like, so what happens if you have two groups and you could do this thing called archiving information. So you could like tell workflows, hey, remember what these items were originally so that when I'm done making these edits that I have and I want it to go back to what they originally were, workflows will like do that for you by pressing a button. But they're like, what happens if you've made these edits and you've like archived it? Like, what happens is like when you merge these two groups together. And the fun thing is on page 113, if you try to do that, you're going to get this error that says archive groups cannot be merged. So it's kind of fun that Workflows is looking out for you and won't let you do that because it just makes things super duper complicated. So that was a fun thing that we learned. But yeah, so if you're interested, like that's all we're going to talk about with this. So if you do use the item group editor, I highly recommend going back to this page and kind of just printing out or saving the latest version of the procedure. And if you're interested in like kind of having a demo of how to upload those text files and like merge groups, just reach out to the RSA help desk and we could schedule either an item group editor training at your library, or if you're already using it and don't need like the full blown training, we could schedule a Zoom, if we've already been out there for training in the past. And like I mentioned earlier, like I am going out to Normal for a site visit, but I was asked like if we can combine that with item group editor training. So we're going to do like a twofer that day, and like I'm just going to kind of live at Normal for one day in November. And I believe lunch was on the table, so I'm very excited about that. So it should be a fun day. But yeah, so if that wizard is of interest to you, do reach out and we'll schedule trainings for this are scheduled on like an as need basis. So as you let us know, but it's a really fun wizard, could be useful for your library. If not, that's fine. Like I said, the global item modification wizard's super fun too. But yeah, just let us know and we could get a training scheduled for you. Are there any questions at all about that? Yeah, Jennifer, it will be a big day. I am excited. So,
And Jennifer recently did a combined
Mhm.
visit at Gridley, right? And that went really well. So it can be done.
Yeah, as long as there's enough time budgeted in the day for both. That's why I was like, I'm going to live there because the site visit's like, 1 to 2 hours, and then the training for this is like 2 to 3. It varies wildly.
Okay, so thank you, Lisa. Let's see, staying on the theme of item group editor, I wanted to ask your help if you are using this wizard, if you could find your saved groups and do some cleaning out. So let me show you in the item group editor. I'm in the cataloging module, and like Lisa showed, it's here in call numbers and items in the item group editor. You can search for your groups using this little magnifying glass with a red arrow to toggle between an item and a group search. So all you need to do is pick your library. I'm going to pick Canton High School. They're unfortunately no longer a member, but it works really well to show you how to pull up groups. So if any of your groups could be cleaned out, that would be great if you could remove them. We have more and more libraries using Item Group Editor, so we need to free up space for newly created groups. We have some pretty old groups in here, so I thought the first thing we would do is ask your help, because I know several of you in this meeting are item group editor users. Notice in the group display, it does tell you when it was created. And then of course, if you need to open it up to see what's in it, you can go ahead and manage group. This is a little bit tricky because we had deleted all of Canton High School's items from workflows when they withdrew their RSA membership. So it says unavailable for display. It remembers the item IDs though, but these items are truly gone. So remove group is very easy. You just hit the remove group button at the bottom of the screen. This information is also in the item group editor procedure that Lisa just shared. So that's the first piece of this, is if you can search for your groups and remove any that you no longer need. And then later this fall, I'm going to share an announcement on the cataloging forum, asking the membership, because I know some item group editor users aren't here in this meeting. I'm going to ask, again, do a call for libraries that use this wizard to remove unneeded groups. Give you a couple weeks to do that. And then at that point, after that window closes, any groups that are older than a year will be removed. So we're not going to remove anything yet. Like I said, we'll give you a window later this fall to make sure what's left in there you do want to keep, and doing some removal on your end. But basically, we're just trying to clean this out as new libraries start doing training on it. We want to make sure that there's enough space for all the groups. Does anyone have any questions about that?
I actually do, Erica. It comes
Sure.
from my Gridley site. We just haven't spoken about it yet. Gridley, has plans. We were talking about that, and I think plans on, creating groups, saving groups.
Mhm.
Is there a limit? Because I know you're wanting to clean it out. So for the new libraries, like I said, Gridley has in mind, something. Is there a limit to what people should have for the number of groups? Should
Yeah,
they only
that's
be keeping them for up to a year? Yeah, I just like, what kind of time frame, or is there a limit?
Yeah, that's a good question. We don't have a limit currently, because when we first started out using this, it was just a core group of libraries.
Mhm.
But since we've restarted training earlier this year, as you know, it's picked up.
Yeah.
It's hard to set a limit on the number of groups because the number of items in them can vary.
Okay.
So I don't have any limits at this point. And we admittedly haven't caused a database crash with the number of
Mhm.
groups in here, but we have been told by CIRSE that it's good practice just to clean out unneeded groups periodically, just so that there's space as more new groups continue to be created. So I don't have a number for
Mhm.
you
Oh, that's good to know. Okay.
or that. But yeah, I don't think we've ever done a cleanup project in here of the group. So I figure now is
Okay.
probably a good time since more people are starting to use this.
But as long as people plan on, for like Gridley, oh yeah,
Correct.
definitely for a while, and just let them know. We'll delete them if you decide, no, you're done with that. Okay.
Yeah. If
Okay.
you have a group older than a year that you would like retained, when I send that cataloging forum post, you can just reply with the groups you want retained, and then we will make sure we don't remove those when we do the removal of the groups on our end. But yeah, we'll give everybody an opportunity to see what they have and look things over before we do any cleaning up. Yeah, good question. Okay, are there any other questions about that? Okay, all right. Let's see. Jen has some quick tips for us, so take it
Okay.
away when you are ready.
How this goes here. Okay. Okay. Hopefully you're seeing workflows. Erica.
Yes.
Okay. Erica has put together some quick tips, and these are just coming from questions or things that have come into the help desk recently. So some of them just may be reminders. Some you may not know. A workaround if workflows freezes and it will not close. I've had this happen. I've had to do, the Control Alt Delete just do. So like, I guess that would be considered like a hard shutdown. You know, you would do Control Alt Delete. So say you're in here, you cannot, this red X is not working, will not shut. In the task manager, it doesn't actually say workflows or seriously, it doesn't, it's really kind of confusing. Well, which one is workflows? This right here, this one, the Open JDK platform, that's actually the one that you would choose to close workflows. I'm not going to go through the process now. I don't want to close workflows because I need to be in there. But this is the option you would choose. Make sure it's highlighted and just in the task. Doing so should close workflows. I have had that happen a few times. I don't have the Pekin example. I was just going to pull one up, Erica. Easily correct an item cataloged as an AG. So the AG underscore ALS dash PDC library, that's us, that's RSA. If you don't have your properties preset with your library, you may accidentally catalog something as AG. We have a process that we check, you know, at least monthly. And if we notice it, we will change it. Or if we're working another database maintenance, you know, something came up recently. If we notice it, we'll take care of it. We don't know if people realize or not that if you do, you catalog something, you're like, well, where is it? And you notice, oh no, it's cataloged as AG. You can just go in. I'm going to use this item as an example. Under the common task, call number and item maintenance. And if you put in the number, just, I'm acting like I'm this library. You could go in and then choose your correct library. So you are able to, if you notice that you have accidentally cataloged an AG item, you are able to change it to your library. If you don't notice it or whatever, that's fine. They will eventually get changed. Like I said, we have routine database maintenance, you know, that looks at this. But just be aware that you are able to change this. There is, you don't need to, sometimes we've noticed that a new item will be created. It doesn't, you know, you don't even need to create a new item. You really can just use that AG item, just change your library. In order to prevent that, just as a reminder, I talked about setting the properties. This is in call number and item maintenance, and then also under add title for when you go to create a brief record. Just as a reminder, if you right click and select properties, this is where you can actually preset your library. You'd probably have your library and then the AG is an option there. Just choose your library. If this is not already set, just choose your library. Click OK. You will actually have to shut workflows down and it will say properties have been changed. Do you want to save? You would say yes. Shut it down. You can reopen it. And then really from that point on, when you added an item here, or if you're adding an item here when you're creating a brief record, you won't have to, oh, I got to switch from AG, you know, to my library code. I think this came from an update, what, a few years ago, Erica, like it reset. So at some point, like some libraries may have reset. If you get, well, new computer a lot of times, right? I mean, I think this happens.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, you may have to go in and redo this setting. Okay.
It can also happen too if your 949 tag when you're loading.
Yes.
When you're loading an OCLC record into workflow. So keep that in mind too, that the 949 tag has to have the subfield M with your library code entered correctly. If the subfield M is left out or there's a mistake in it, the record and its item will most likely load into the AG collection. So that may happen too. So if you notice you load an OCLC record into workflows and the item's gone to AG and you're not sure what's wrong with your 949 tag, reach out to the help desk. We'd be happy to look at it and help you get it straightened out. So the next time you load an OCLC record, you won't have the same trouble.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. The next quick tip. Removing a record stuck in the OCLC connection client save file. I'm going to show you the steps, even though I don't have a file removed. I've had this happen. Well, it's just stuck. It won't open. I've been in the middle, or maybe you've loaded something and it is still stuck. You can't remove it. Usually it happens with me. I'll be in the middle of working on a record and something has happened and I've been booted or booted out, something. And then it's like I'm locked out. I can't get back in. So I do that to open it back up. Up here under File, Local File Manager, make sure this is highlighted here, the default bid file. And then you would just hit Compact and Repair. And it's actually going to let me do it. And it'll say, oh, it might take a couple minutes. And it will give you a completed prompt when it is finished. It may freeze up. The point of this is it will enable you to go into your save file and delete or open that file. Usually for me, it's I can't get back into the record I was just working on. It's locked. Anyway, that is the way to do it. The steps, if you need to know for the future. Yeah, it's just going to sit there. So anyway, it will give you a message that the process has been complete. Move this over. Okay, the steps are also documented in the latest version of the BibLoad procedure. RSA BibLoad procedure. Upload the procedure. And here we go. Full detailed steps right here. If that happens, you still can't. Beyond that, like if that's not working, you'd probably have to contact CLC Connection because it'd be out of our control.
Yeah.
Like we wouldn't know. If that's not working to get you back in, yeah, you'd probably have to contact Connection. Okay, speaking of OCLC, let me put this.
This next one was actually a suggestion or a question from Tracy at Pekin. And I know Tracy is in this meeting. So thank you, Tracy, for
Oh, yes, thank you.
giving us this suggestion.
Okay, the dashboard. Let me get it over here. I put the website in the chat. This is the system status, the OCLC dashboard, the system status. Actually for Connection WorldShare Record Manager. Basically, if during, the day or whenever point really, if something goes down as far as, OCLC, it's going to be here on this dashboard. So you can see here the connection, anything WorldShare. I mean, it's going to be all right here. It will also go into planned, planned times that, that they're working on things. Usually stuff like that is, well, what I consider like off hours, like weekend times, not your normal Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. I would bookmark this. It's what we always go to if we start having problems. If we're in there, like, oh, anyone having trouble? Yeah, this is what we're looking at, and they'll also send out emails too. Let me see on our support site. Go back this way. So recently on the support site, so let me see. You go to look here, status. And, oh, right here. Yep, OCLC systems status dashboard. And it may take a second. I may be having issues here. Things are all of a sudden moving really, really slow. Oh, here we go. But like I said, really, once again, if you're experiencing any issues as far as, anything OCLC, and you can't find it on here, OCLC really, you know, that's who you need to reach out to, you know, for the support. Reach out to them. And I think that's it for the quick tips.
It is, yeah. Does anyone have any questions for Jennifer?
Just let us know.
Okay, we will pass it back to Lisa.
Right. Thank you again, Tracy, for reaching out with that and making that suggestion. It was kind of fun that it happened so quickly because I was like within days of this happening. So that was fun. Yeah, so just got a couple more agenda items left here. I'm going to talk about some upcoming cataloging events that are going to be happening. So if you're ever interested in what's happening at RSA as far as like workshops and trainings and things like that go, I personally am a huge fan of the cataloging at a glance sheet, which you can find with the catalog in the cataloging handbook section. I usually just do a control F and just type in glance and it'll take me right to it. But this document, let's see, it's really fun and nifty because it'll have all of the information of upcoming workshops that we have scheduled for the rest of the year, information about the BibLoad workshops, information about the item group editor training that we have and how to sign up for that. So this one is just for the 2025 year. We should have one for 2026 up as soon as we have everything scheduled. Yeah, so we'll share on the listserv and on the website as well, letting you know once the 2026 cataloging at a glance sheet is up. But as far as the remaining workshops for the year go, and I will also put into the chat this actual document for you. There's the link for it if you want to get a copy of that for the rest of the year. But as far as workshops go, if you scroll down, we have all the information here. I will say that the October workshop, that's the one that I'm teaching, it is full. So it's already full, so there's no more spots left. But the November one, that one's going to be held in Zoom. That one still has some spots available. And December is going to be in person at Fond du Lac District Library. You can check L2 for more details and to register. The fun thing about this document is it links you right to that L2 page. So just to kind of like, if you were to click this, like for November, it'll take you right there. If you're not signed into L2, you're going to get this little pop-up here thing here. Oh, somebody signed up since this morning. I was checking the link to make sure it worked. But in order to actually register, you just need to make sure you're logged in with your L2 account, and then you'll see a little button for register. So yeah, that's the L2 thing for the workshops. We have information for the, like I mentioned, the BibLoad workshop further down. The next one that's going to be happening is going to be on October 23rd. That one is going to be in person at Odell. So again, you could check, click this little link to the register in L2. And there is one final one for the remainder of the year that'll be on December 9th. And that one's going to be in Zoom. So yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, just reach out to the RSA Help Desk if your library has a routine need to batch edit items in your collection. So you can get trained on how to use the item group editor. It's a fun training. These are conducted in person at your library, and it's only like for one library just because we do a bunch of hands-on example in our training server, so we're not going to mess with your actual live collection. But yeah, we do a lot of fun playing around in the training server for that to get you some hands-on practice. And then we don't have any more cataloging chats for the rest of the year. This is the last one for 2025. And like Pam mentioned, the last thing that we'd like to share about upcoming cataloging events is I'm going to be presenting as part of a panel at the Illinois Library Association conference on October 14th. So this session is titled Peek Behind the Technical Services Curtain, Cataloging for Non-Catalogers. It's going to be Tuesday. When I was looking at the schedule, it looks like Tuesday's kind of the tech heavy day or the technical services heavy day for ILA. Not that they don't have things Wednesday and Thursday, but Tuesday seems to be kind of where they crammed everything in. So I'm going to share the link that'll take you to the feed loop so you can see all of the schedule. But I have pulled up what our event is so you can kind of see who else is presenting. So I will be presenting with Mary from the CMC, as Pam mentioned, and a couple other people that are also really cool. Ansley and Ted and RK are wonderful, wonderful people and very knowledgeable librarians. So if you're at ILA, come check us out. Yeah, it should be fun. We'll say hi. You could ask us all your questions that you want to know about, cataloging and, why we can do certain things and why we can't do certain things. But registration's still open, so do sign up if you are interested. And that is all I have about that. Does anybody have questions about any of the upcoming stuff we have for the remainder of the year? No? Okay.
Let me see here. Okay, so our last agenda item, I was thinking about this as I was putting the agenda together, and we have been doing these cataloging chats for the past year. Remember the database committee we used to have dissolved when RSA became an intergovernmental instrumentality, basically part of our independence project to shift away from the Rails library system. So we've been doing these for the past year. So I thought this would be a good time to do a survey just to ask if these cataloging chats have been meeting your needs, if you find them helpful, if you like the format of them, or maybe if we need to think about doing them, if you want to do them in person, or maybe you just want them recorded to watch at your leisure, if you like them the way they are. Getting your thoughts on the frequency, any suggestions you might have. So I don't have the survey ready today to share with you, but it will be shared on the cataloging forum this fall. And I'm hoping you'll be willing to fill it out and give us some feedback just so we can determine the best path forward for these meetings, making sure that we're giving you useful information, or maybe you would like something different from this group. So we are anxious to hear your feedback. The survey will be anonymous, but we'll leave a line if you'd like to share your name and your library. We'll have that as an option on the form if you would like to let us know about your responses, and maybe if you want to talk about something on a phone call. So yes, just be on the lookout for a survey. It won't be long, just a few questions. And like I said, we appreciate any feedback that you're willing to give us. So I haven't scheduled chats for January and into 2026 because we'll see what the survey says. But if we do continue with these chats in some fashion, I will get them posted on L2 and then announce them on the cataloging forum. So that's what we're looking to do with the chat is, like I said, just see if it's meeting your needs since we've been doing it a year now. Okay, any questions about that? Does anyone have any, excuse me, any cataloging questions they would like to ask? Just any open Q&A if there's anything you've been working on, or maybe something that you've been meaning to ask. If you have anything you'd like to ask, you're welcome to share. Let's see, is there anything in the chat, Lisa?
Not now.
Okay.
And I don't see any indicator that anybody's typing.
Oh wait, Jennifer Williams, hello.
Hi, I'll throw out a question. So let's see, I hadn't thought about this until you said it or until you asked for questions, to be honest, but I'm also presenting at ILA. So I'll look out for you, Lisa. On Wednesday afternoon, the topic is creating visually appealing catalog records for Library of Things items.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
So it's a panel discussion. There's like 5 other libraries, so I'm sure I will like very quickly go through what I'm going to talk about, which is great because I'm not a cataloger. I just manage catalogers. So I know just enough to be dangerous when it comes to things like OCLC. But like one thing we were kind of like sharing examples of would be like, examples of brief mark records versus like enhanced mark records, for things that like are, a brief record that's, for something very specific to your library that there's no need for like a full record for because nobody else is going to own this like little nature art kit that a Girl Scout troop created for us, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I just wonder if any of you all have any insight of something that would be worthwhile to share or like best practice or anything like that. As like, sorry, I'm here in cataloging chat. I always learn something, but not a cataloger. So how I got invited to do this, I don't know, but that's fine. I can talk about library of things stuff all day. So no worries there. It's the cataloging piece that I'm a little light on, but the others who are there know what they're doing. So I'm not terribly concerned, but just thought I'd throw that out there.
I will let Lisa and Jen go first. I have one idea, but I will let Lisa and Jen go first if they have anything they'd like to chime in for Jennifer.
Go ahead, Lisa.
I don't.
I was like, I'm trying to
I don't
think
have
like,
anything right now, but I was just gonna say I'm only going for the one day, so I won't see you on Wednesday. But yours was like that was the only one that it like seemed like in our field that was like happening on Wednesday. So I'm sorry, I won't see you. I'm gonna let Erica go. Hopefully, like her
yeah,
talking brings
No,
something to my head. But I
yeah,
want you to
thought
know I'm
this is a
not
big thing
ghosting
to
you
just
if
throw,
I'm not at your presentation on Wednesday.
Well, mine was more, did you say it's more the bib record or is it more the catalog angle or is it both?
I
Because
think it's
mine was
both because we're kind of
both. Okay.
showing like, and I mean, it's through the lens of Library of Things. So kind of showing like ways that items are discoverable. I think that's the main thing, like how to
Okay.
make things pretty discoverable, which I appreciate. And I have it like a slide about, how on the RSA cat that there's, you can filter to just search for Library of Things items at
That,
normal, stuff like that, that
that's what I was
makes it
gonna
easier for
mention.
patrons to find things.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. That you stole my thunder. That's what I
Oh,
was gonna
sorry.
mention. But yeah,
That
I'm
means I'm on
glad
the right
though.
track. That's
Yeah,
good.
you're definitely on the right track. We'll go ahead and show it so others in the group can see. But on your catalog, you have a custom search filter, don't you, for Library of Things? You do. Yeah, so that works really well. That can be set up based on home location, item cat 4 or 5. And as long as you're consistently assigning the Library of Things code in one of those values, a search filter can be built. I would say too, every catalog's different in terms of the fields it displays to the patron on the item details page. And I admit with ours, Kendall kind of prefers to keep it lean. Like he doesn't like much information on that item details screen because he said that the more people have to scroll down to see the holdings, they may just not want to do it. So I'm hoping maybe some of the other people in your group might have a little bit more of a robust description on the item details page in their online catalogs. That's one
If I learn
thing.
anything, I'll bring it to you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that would be great.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. One thing too, I should mention, it's a little out of context, but it kind of relates. I'm making this wish list of things where if we have a new database or a new system, because in the next couple years, we're going to be looking at as part of our bigger plan. We're going to be looking at doing an environmental scan to see if maybe we need to migrate to a different database and a new online catalog, or maybe we do an in-place migration where we just shift to a clean workflows and a new catalog. So I've started kind of a wish list of things. So that's when you said that if you learn anything, Jennifer, from the other panelists, yeah, feel free to pass it along because like I said, I've kind of started an unofficial wish list of things for us to consider when we think about either a new database or a fresh start in what we're currently doing. Yes, Lisa.
Yeah, so I have a couple ideas for searchability for like Library of Things and stuff. So like I've seen people like I've seen different libraries suggest like when they create a record or when they're editing a record or something, like they'll use their OPAC to have like a local field that they make sure is on like their Library of Thing records so that like they can all be grouped together and searchable. Um, in the online catalog. So that's a suggestion. I've seen people, you know, specifically use like a specific local field thing.
Do you
Like
mean
maybe
like a subject heading, like a
yeah,
690?
so yeah, it could be like a 690. I've seen in different like CE webinars, like people use like a specific like 500 note, like a five, I think it's a 590 field is the local note. And they have like a standard thing that goes in there so that like their online catalog could group them all together. Um, like for us, you know, like we recommend like, you know, since you're all in RSA and like we know how our database works, like using specific item cats so that you can like have the things all linked together when patrons search your database in the RSA cat. Um, as far as like creating bib records themselves, like so like for Jen and I, like since we work at RSA, like we need to create like library of thing records for like that are usable for like all of the members. So our like cataloging checklist is pretty robust and we have like all the fields because we want to make sure that it like is useful for all the members. But like on a for you guys, like it might be worth like suggesting to people like as you start embarking on cataloging your library of things, think about what fields you want like indexed and searchable, but like what you want to display, but like think about what fields you want to have on all of your library of thing records. And like every library should create their own, you know, cataloging checklist. So like all their records are standard it within their library. And there's like consistency with that. So that would be like my suggestion. Um, because like some fields you might be like, well, we don't need this. I don't care about having this. But like again, it kind of differs when you're in the consortial level. And like that's why our records are so ridiculously long because we're like, well, I don't know what people are searching by. We need all the things. So yeah, but that might be something to like also recommend is like having document like what should go on a record so there's consistency.
Yeah, at least some core elements.
Mhm.
Yeah, even if it's not comprehensive, like the one that we have, but just have some fields like Lisa was saying that you for sure want on the record. To me, a contents note is essential, or a summary note, just saying what the item is and if there's any pieces with it, because to me that's probably what the patron cares about, is what exactly the item is and if they're getting any accompanying pieces with it. I don't know how helpful that was, Jennifer, but
No, that's
yeah.
really helpful. And that just, I don't know if this is helpful for you. Something I can tell you right now because we met earlier this week. And I think it was one of the Swan libraries that they were mentioning that they're starting to use like the 531 field for like local information and to kind of group things so that in the catalog it can pull up like all of your like technology items or something like that.
That
no,
makes
super
sense.
helpful to see how RSA handles these kinds of things. So thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, does anyone have anything else they would like to share? Okay, I think we're in a good spot then to conclude. Thank you for joining us this morning. Like I said, watch the cataloging forum for an announcement once the recording is ready, and watch for the survey too. And like I said, any feedback is much appreciated so we can figure out the next steps for this group. So have a good rest of your day, everybody, and a nice weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.